Hello and welcome to the Inside Track. This month, Lisa Robinson talks to Robert Plant and Phil Collins, two superstars who have joined together to provide the spark for one of this summer's most eagerly awaited tours. Each carries with him the benefits and burdens of an illustrious career. Robert with Led Zeppelin and Phil with Genesis. And they reveal how this has influenced their own individual solo works. I'm Tony Pigg. Stay with me as we go behind the scenes with Lisa, Robert Plant, and Phil Collins. The Inside Track is brought to you by Heineken. If you don't deserve the best, who does? Come to think of it, have a Heineken. We'll be right back after this.
One day soon the best will come. Rich rewards for all you've done. Starting now you can begin with the best beer, Heineken. Great taste you will find, the number one of its kind. Come to think of it, I'll have a Heineken.
When you think about it, you want to make the most of this long summer weekend. So make sure you've got plenty of Heineken. Nothing's better with summer food and fun, and there's gonna be plenty of that this weekend.
Great taste you will find, the number one of its kind. Come to think of it, I'll have a Heineken. Come to think of it, I'll have a Heineken.
Imported by Van Munching and Company, New York.
This is Lisa Robinson. Welcome to the Inside Track. I've known Robert Plant through all of the years he was with Led Zeppelin and was aware of his close relationship with Jimmy Page, John Bonzo Bonham, and John Paul Jones. When Led Zeppelin broke up following the tragic death of drummer Bonham in 1980, there was no word from any of the surviving members about future musical plans. Then last year, Robert released his first solo album, Pictures at 11, and began what has become a successful new step. That step has continued with his new album, The Principle of Moments, and an eagerly awaited Robert Plant tour. When you did Pictures at 11, before it came out, you did tell me that you didn't want anybody to hear it until it was through and done and complete. And you didn't want a tour until you had 2 albums worth of material to perform. But did you have a tremendous amount of anxiety as to whether or not you could really do anything on your own without Jimmy, coming out of that whole Zeppelin situation? Were you nervous about it?
Well, yeah, really. Only because I think you develop sets of values by having close relationships. And when those have gone, the relationships have changed, the values are still there. And you try and bring everything around you up to that sort of former level. Now, you can't create an atmosphere of kinship with the closeness that Jimmy and I had overnight, even though I've known Robbie for years and years and years. So whoever it would have been tough. And so whoever I would have been a little skeptical. As it happened, it was a lot easier than I could ever have imagined. It was great. Great is the wrong word, really, but I mean, it was just comfortable. And maybe I just needed some situations around me to be quite comfortable.
Had you been uncomfortable?
I think it was just one of the situations that I now have come to expect to be commonplace, where I'm calling the tune. And without severe disrespect to anybody. I mean, it pleases me right now.
Do you think with Zeppelin that it was more Jimmy calling the tune?
Goodness knows, I don't think so. I think there were 4 people all calling the tune at the same time.
When Pictures at 11 came out, were you concerned at all that the Zeppelin fans wouldn't stay with you, or that they were really going to want to hear you and Jimmy Page playing together, and that you wouldn't have that audience, and that a new audience might not pick up on you because it's different sort of...
Time.
Yeah.
I wasn't concerned about anything. I was just glad to get it off my chest, to be perfectly honest. You can't knock something that's good, and it isn't sort of AOR, middle-of-the-road rock. I mean, it still can make you turn your head. It didn't sort of fit into any category. And if If nobody had liked it, I'd have been proud of it, because it didn't fit into any of the categories that are around. And even less so the Principle of Moments. I mean, that is really the starting point now. Well, it either is or it isn't, but it is at the moment. I mean, that's good material, and some of the stuff's quite freaky. And that's a great place to start. And so, what can you say? I mean, obviously my pride would be hurt if nobody picked up on it at all. But maybe sooner or later, the whole thing is going to quieten down anyway. So.
Has it quieted down?
It don't look like it, does it?
You must have been very gratified by the success of Pictures at 11, though. I mean,
Exceedingly so, yeah.
if it hadn't been, would you have continued on, done another record?
I think so. Of course I would, because that was a good record. And because I'm a big boy.
The Principle of Moments, when you say that some of it's quite freaky, do you feel that you took chances with this that you weren't prepared to do with Pictures at 11?
No, I think it was a different state of mind that the whole thing commenced under different rules. People have tried with Principle of Moments. You know, everybody has been really thinking very seriously about it, rather than it being just an emotional outburst, which Pictures at 11 was. Everybody really has sat down and gone, right, now let's begin. You know? And consequently, it took a lot longer, and there was a lot of scrutiny going on. And you might conceive the whole thing and say, what? The whole thing is like 4 minutes long, and it's got this here and that there and that there, and then we just take everything out, instrumental-wise, and just start building it up again and subtracting this. It was like kind of rock and roll dub in our imaginations, just trying to make it a little more empty. It was a nice way of doing things, actually.
We'll be right back with Robert Plant on the Inside Track after this. This is Lisa Robinson on the Inside Track. In finding guitarist Robbie Blunt, Robert Plant now has a new partner with whom he has a real musical rapport. What's the process that you and Robbie go through making the music? I mean, how much input do you have? Are you just doing the words?
No. I mean, we kind of share all sorts of responsibilities. This time it's been, we all got together at the house in the country. You know, it's one of them jobs. And after 2 weeks, hated each other severely, the usual stories. And just took little fragments of ideas that we come across and just embellished them. The usual story, nothing particularly that anybody wants to hear about. Except for we must have gone through about 400 drummers while we were rehearsing, just trying to get somebody who could kick things around. And things like Reckless Love and Stranger Here and Over There are really excellent tracks, because we had Barry Barlow with us. And as much as he dislikes the sort of contemporary rock and roll, he loves the new music. And so after years and years of working with Jethro Tull, he realized that maybe he was getting a little blinkered, you know? And so when he came along to work with us, his whole style and technique that he'd changed, and his whole kind of method of going about playing was remarkable. It was great, you know? And it really influenced us, so that Reckless Love has got a really strange lope about it. You know, and Stranger Here is like very kind of spacey, and there was another one called Sack That Juggler, which we never used. And so it was work, and trying different things all the time.
Well, now you said you went through 400 drummers. I mean, obviously, having had the association...
Now, be careful.
Well, having had the association with John Bonham, who was probably the best rock and roll drummer, I think, of all time, it must pose a terrific problem for you to find a drummer who... I mean, you've used 3 of them now, right, on 2 records. Mm-hmm. You used 2 on this one. You've managed to con Phil into coming on tour with you, right, which, I mean...
I don't think he needed conning, but I take your point, yeah. Very funny.
Let's put it this way. I mean, he's a busy person, right? And he has a variety of careers that he's juggling. So to get him to come to America on a 6-week or whatever it is with you, obviously he enjoys working with you. But I mean...
Well, I think that we possess something that he can't get.
What?
I don't know what it is. It's kind of... There's a raw energy in there, you see, which he doesn't get with Genesis or with his own Phil Collins show. As such,
he doesn't get it with his own.
No, because I personally don't. I think it's a different one. You know, it's a different kind of brand of expression that he's involved in with us. I personally think that.
Did you try to get him away from Genesis?
Well, I'd love him to come and play with me forever and ever, and but he'd be a fool if he were to do that, really, because I'm starting from scratch, starting all over, you know, and Genesis. Just a little bit behind me. No, sorry, what I mean to say, sorry, Tony Banks. I love an honest man. No, I think that Phil, he's been producing Adam Ant and all sorts of amazing things. The man obviously likes to put himself about, as we used to say in the old days. A little bit here and a little bit there. So I think a little bit with Robert won't be that excruciating for him. But it would be nice if he could be with us forever.
Why are drummers such a problem? I know
They're
lots
not a
of
problem.
bands that have this problem, though.
I think, really, in my situation now, you're right about Bonzo. He was the best, obviously. And I'm not just saying that for anybody who dug Zeppelin. But I don't think that that's where I'm starting to try and pick up the pieces at all, you know? That's why I was so impressed with what Barry Barlow did. I mean, Bonzo is the ultimate effigy of a tasteful rock drummer. I mean, the man who would leave things out rather than fill it all up. But now, if I try and find another Bonzo or another Jimmy or another anything else, what am I doing? I might as well be the squire in the country, you know? I mean, I'm not out to emulate or to try and recreate that. No way.
I remember once sitting in a dressing room in Chicago and him being really bellowing about it, but I think being upset that he came in behind Karen Carpenter in a Playboy drummer's pole and saying, "Can you imagine how I feel, blah, blah, blah." And I mean, I do think that in many ways he was underrated during his lifetime as a drummer.
No, as a drummer.
Except for those who knew.
No, I don't think he was underrated as a drummer. I just think he didn't get his fair share of credit and acclaim for what he did for Zeppelin. But there you are, that's the problem that all drummers have to face and have to put up with. You can't avoid seeing some sort of flash potentate singer preening around. But sometimes maybe everybody's attention is taken by that, or the guitarist with the silver licks, and they forget about everybody else for a bit. But he's not been forgotten.
I'll be right back with Robert Plant after this. As far as you being the Flash singer, strutting around, being noticed the most, do you think that you were noticed more for that image as well than you were for your voice? I mean, I've felt that your voice was underrated.
Well, the answer is I don't know. I mean, I think from what I can gather, people have got off on my singing. I don't think I really started to sing until about the last 6 or 7 years anyway, properly.
But do you think you were just really screaming?
No, I don't think I was screaming, but I don't think I developed, I don't think I was comfortable with what I was doing then. I don't know, I just think that it's all sort of rounded off now. It's nice. I like my voice. If I listen to Heartbreaker and stuff, there's not very much depth in the voice, as a voice. If you study it, it isn't rounded enough. I mean, it's just an idiosyncrasy. I mean, I'm quite pleased with the way I sing now.
Do you ever listen to any of the old Zeppelin stuff? I mean, do you think some of it still really holds up? I mean, the
Oh,
Crunch
yeah,
or
some of it.
Cashmere or
Yeah, they do. The Crunch, definitely.
Achilles.
Yeah, that. There are the ones that don't.
What doesn't?
Well,
Yeah.
the one I never liked anyway, and that's Living, Loving, Made. I mean, things like that. And like me and Jimmy used to go, oh no, there it is again. Ah. But you can't be responsible for everything that you do, unquote.
With a purple umbrella in a 50-cent hand. Living, loving. Living, loving, loving. Just a woman. Living, loving. She's just a woman.
Tell me about the tour. Why are you coming to America first?
I want to warm up for England.
That's certainly honest. It's not because you've always spent a lot of time in America and you have a tremendous number of fans here and it's safer.
One thing's for sure, that if I'm going to make any mistakes, it doesn't matter where I make them, I'm going to feel bad about it. So I might as well go where I really enjoy it and where the energy's like happening for me, you know. I'm reasonably ambitious about what I'm doing there. And I think the best place to start is where you're going to be in the action straight away, straight in at the deep end.
Is that how you see this?
Yeah.
Deep end?
Yeah, no, well, I mean, one is in the deep end if one has not played on stage before, and one plays in Chicago on the 29th of August.
How long has it been since you've performed on stage? And I don't mean the one-off things or the Honey Drippers or...
1980 with Zeppelin,
Yeah.
but the Honey Drippers regularly. And anybody will have me regularly.
Do you really miss it?
I'll let you know.
I mean, are you looking forward to it?
Yes, I'm looking forward to it, but have I missed it? I'll tell you after
Oh,
about the first 3 gigs.
How do you think the road will be different for you? I mean, in terms of the excesses, I mean, the party that it was, I guess, in the earlier days for Zeppelin.
Whatever you will. I personally enjoy somewhat of a quieter existence. At least, I think. Who knows? That's all speculation, all old rubbish anyway.
Are you more prudent about your life and your health and taking care of yourself now than you once were?
I've always liked to be healthy. You can't work for 3.5 hours on stage if you're not healthy, and that's what it was then. 3 hours, whatever. Everybody looked after themselves as much as was necessary. It wasn't just carnal uproar.
In the Mood is an unusual song, isn't it?
Very pretty, isn't it? Yeah, In the Mood is a definite attempt to sort of... Oh, not even an attempt. It didn't start as an attempt. It's just ended up as a kind of finger post to how exactly how I want it all to be. It's great. That's what I consider to be my music now.
You must tell me a bit about the title of the album, though, because I think there is going to be question about that.
No, I think everybody should run to their physics books. Everybody went to school. It's very simple, and when you find out what it is, you'll all go, what a good idea. It's great. Very open, very fresh. No shrouds.
But do you think that things with you in this solo career are more open now? Just in general?
Well, it's my choice as to whether exactly what is done and what is said, really. And I quite like the idea of accessibility right now. I mean, because I haven't had it, because I've never got exhausted with it or fed up with it or whatever it is. I quite like it. I want to put my points across. They're not particularly intelligent or anything like that. But if people want to know what I'm like, this is what I'm like.